to get asked about Caitlin Clark and Indiana, and I'm like, guys, like, just relax. Like, they're gonna figure it out. They've got to learn how to play together. You know, she's thrown into this league right away, and she's gonna figure it out. And she did. And she's going to see all kinds of coverages. She's going to see all kinds of matchups. And so for us, working on how to become a little bit more efficient.
Stephanie White just made a statement about Caitlin Clark gameplay that has some fans worried. But before you start overreacting, let's break this all down because, trust me, Stephanie White is a hell of a coach, and she knows exactly what she's doing. This might actually be the best thing that could happen for Caitlin and the Fever's championship hopes. Let's get into it.
Said about whether or not she thinks that the Indiana Fever are a title contending team for 2025.
Is it realistic to say that this team is a title contender in 2025?
I mean, I think on paper, certainly. You know, you look at it and look, our goal was to bring in experience, to bring in players that can complement our big three. You know, I didn't know that we would be able to build the depth that we were able to build in year one. You know, I thought that was going to take a little bit more time.
All right, Fever fans, let's take a deep breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Now, let's talk about what head coach Stephanie White said that had some of y'all ready to panic. She mentioned that Caitlin Clark will have moments where she plays off the ball. Suddenly, Fever fans are clutching their chests like they just got hit with a full-court press. What do you mean she won't have the ball? Relax. No one's banishing Caitlin to the corner like a forgotten role player in a 2K simulation. This is all part of a bigger plan, one that could make the Fever even more dangerous.
Not just from a conditioning standpoint, but from a rhythm and timing standpoint. So that becomes the next challenge. But getting more efficient in everything that we do. You know, for us, moving her off the ball a little bit more so she's not getting worn out in game, just handling the ball 94 feet. And then we're challenging her on the defensive end of the floor as well, like being a better defender. You know, the best for us as an opponent, you know, you want to attack a good offensive player by making him play on the defensive end, putting him through the ringer. You know, so being a better defender, you know, and I think being more creative.
Let's break this down logically. Caitlin Clark is an elite playmaker. Her vision, unmatched. Her handles, shifty. Her range, pure Steph Curry level disrespect. So yeah, it might sound unnatural to hear she won't always have the ball in her hands, like a game without a single foul call. But here's the thing. This is actually a smart move that could make her and the Fever even more dangerous.
I hate the but turnovers number because there is context to turnovers. That's not saying Caitlin Clark didn't turn the ball over a bit too much, especially early in the year. But ironically, the turnover numbers did not tell the full story about her turnovers. There were games where she committed 9 turnovers, where 7 of them were quote-unquote good turnovers, 2 of them were bad, and there was a game where she committed 5 turnovers and gave up 5 freaking...
Stephanie White isn't playing checkers. She's playing chess. Think about it. Defenses already panic when Clark has the ball, but imagine the chaos when she's running off screens, cutting to the hoop, or catching and firing from deep. Terrifying. Picture this. Clark sprints around a screen, catches a pass from Kelsey Mitchell, and before the defender even reacts, splash, 3 points. No wasted dribbles, no triple teams, just pure buckets. This move makes the Fever even harder to guard. Let's be real. Have y'all seen how defenses treat Caitlin? The moment she crosses half court, she's getting double teamed like she owes them money. Defenders act like she stole their lunch back in middle school. If she's always the primary ball handler, she'll constantly face traps, pressure, and defensive schemes built to wear her down. Giving her off-ball moments creates cleaner looks and helps her conserve energy for when she takes over. It's not limiting her. It's making her even more dangerous when it matters most.
Like in our industry, if you're not a competitor, you're not going to last. And it doesn't have to be to win at all costs, right? It's just how you do what you do every single day. Like for me as a human being, like if you're leaving your shopping cart out in the middle of the parking lot, I'm judging you. You're not going to be on my team, right? Like you're not going to be on my team. if I'm watching you and you're on the end of the bench with bad body language and not being a good teammate, like I don't want.
Let's not act like this is some crime against basketball history. Steph Curry, the greatest shooter ever, spends plenty of time playing off the ball, running through screens, and letting teammates set him up for open looks. The Warriors built a dynasty with that approach. If it works for him, it sure as hell can work for Caitlin. So, Fever fans, I need y'all to do one thing. Trust the process. Caitlin Clark isn't being turned into a spot-up shooter who barely touches the ball. She's just adding another weapon to her already ridiculous arsenal. And if anything, this will make defenses even more miserable. So, let's all relax, put the pitchforks away, and get ready to enjoy a season where Caitlin Clark makes defenders question their life choices, whether she has the ball in her hands or not. This is a win for her and the Fever.
Anyone who watched the off-season workout footage of Caitlin Clark probably noticed the same thing. She looked like she bulked up a little bit. She looked like she got a little bit stronger. And that was confirmed by Fever coach Stephanie White. I mean, it was confirmed by our eyes, but she also said so in a Q&A with The Athletic, talking about the physical strength that Caitlin Clark added in the WNBA off.
Let's be clear, Clark is still the primary ball handler. She's still running the offense, dropping dimes, and pulling up from 35 feet like it's her legal obligation to take logo threes every game. But Stephanie White isn't expecting her to be a one-woman superhero who has to do everything all the time. Instead, she's taking a Michael Jordan approach. Think about it. When MJ first entered the league, he tried to do it all. He'd drop 50, play lockdown defense, and then wonder why he was gassed by the fourth quarter. Then Phil Jackson came along and said, "Hey, maybe not playing like a my-career player with max stamina is a good idea." That shift extended MJ's career and made the Bulls unstoppable. Caitlin Clark's situation is no different. At Iowa, she had to do everything. Point guard, shooting guard, small forward, even team spokesperson. She brought the ball up, created her own shots, ran the offense, and somehow still had the energy to hit deep threes in crunch time. Now, she has a chance to play smarter, not harder. And that's only going to make her, and the Fever, more dangerous. White isn't limiting Clark. She's unlocking a whole new level of her game.
Absolutely. Have you spoken, I'm curious, to Caitlin, and what was that conversation, if you can share any of that?
Yeah, I spoke with Caitlin last night, and I think just overall excitement. You know, I have been watching Caitlin play since she was an 8th grader, when I was coaching at the college realm and covering her games in college, and just an exciting time for me. Very excited to be working with her and this young team.
Not to mention, there's some pretty cool symmetry. You wore number 22 for the Indiana Fever. I mean, maybe it's too soon to say, but you could potentially be coaching the last player to ever wear 22 for the Indiana Fever. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I saw when they posted that today. I thought it was unique, certainly. She's a lot better, number 22. She puts the ball in the hole a lot.
That's not sustainable in the WNBA. You can't drop 35 points and 12 assists every night while getting double-teamed by world-class defenders. That's how you go from MVP candidate to a walking ice bath patient. So, what's White's plan? Simple. Let Clark play off the ball at times so she's not completely drained by the fourth quarter. This means fewer games where she looks like she just ran a marathon, and more games where she's fresh enough to dominate in crunch time.
Yes, she is stronger, first and foremost. And again, she's got a lot of self-awareness. And, she figured that out, right away. Like, I need to get stronger. I can't get knocked around as much. And so she's done a great job of getting in the weight room and really focusing on her areas that she needs to focus on in terms of strength, in terms of, low center of gravity, time under tension, like all of those things. I think the next step is efficiency. Right? Like, not so many turnovers, higher field goal percentages. She knows what's coming. I mean, you saw that throughout the course of last year. I remember.
And let's be clear, playing off the ball isn't a punishment. If anything, it makes Clark even more dangerous. Defenses already panic when she has the ball. Now imagine her sprinting off screens, catching quick passes, and launching deep threes before defenders even react. It's a nightmare for opposing teams. So let's all relax. Nobody's turning Clark into a glorified decoy. She's just evolving, adding another elite skill to her already ridiculous arsenal. And trust me, when she's dropping effortless 30 pieces because she didn't have to carry the entire offense for 40 minutes, y'all will be thanking Stephanie White. This is about longevity, efficiency, and making Caitlin Clark an even bigger problem for defenses.
Welcome to Indiana, Dewana. Welcome to Indiana. What I heard come out of your mouth is exactly why this signing, of all the other moves the Indiana Fever did this offseason, the Dewana Bonner signing was the one that made me just get out of bed a little bit.
At this point, you have to wonder what people were thinking when they doubted Stephanie White's plan for Caitlin Clark. Here's the secret. White is out here playing chess while other coaches are still struggling with tic-tac-toe. The Indiana Fever's offseason? Pure brilliance. White's moves have Caitlin Clark fans breathing sighs of relief instead of screaming into their pillows. She understood the assignment. She didn't just grab random free agents off the clearance rack. She made calculated, strategic moves like a general preparing for battle. First, she brought in Dewana Bonner, a proven scorer, defender, and rebounder. And here's the kicker. White has already coached Bonner before, so she knows exactly how to use her. Unlike former coach Christy Sides, who just threw Clark on the court for 40 minutes a night and said, "Figure it out," White is building a system that allows Clark to thrive. This is next-level coaching.
Start this, and yeah, there's a narrative out there that Kathy made the call, all right? Kathy Engelbert. Oh, we got to make sure we get Caitlin Clark the championship, and I told you there's narratives floating. Number one, they're freaking out. Number two, the next thing you're about to hear is Caitlin Clark needs a super team to win a championship. So they're going to downgrade her status, and they're going to shit on her over that. It's already started. That's where they're going with this, folks.
But wait, there's more. White also signed Sydney Colson, a veteran guard who's not just a great locker room presence, but also a solid ball handler. And you know what that means? Clark can finally do something she rarely did as a rookie: sit down. Imagine that. Instead of running on fumes by the fourth quarter, she can actually catch her breath, sip some Gatorade, and maybe even check Twitter to see what Skip Bayless is saying about her. This is the difference between elite coaching and survival mode coaching. Stephanie White is building a sustainable system, while Christy Sides was basically that friend who crams for the test the night before and just hopes for the best. It's like comparing a Michelin star chef to someone microwaving ramen and calling it homemade cuisine. White is setting Clark up for success, not burnout.
What the Indiana Fever did last night got me so excited. The Fever, if you haven't been paying attention, they are really active in ensuring that Caitlin Clark and company have a true contending lineup next season. They have Caitlin Clark.
The biggest impact of these moves? Clark doesn't have to do it all anymore. Last season, she was the Fever's entire offense, defense, and maybe even their in-house therapist with how much she carried the team. Now, if Indiana is up big in the fourth quarter, Clark can actually rest instead of playing every second like it's Game 7 of the finals. This is load management, done right. If Christy Sides were still coaching, we'd probably hear reports of Clark playing 48 minutes in a 40-minute WNBA game. Meanwhile, White is managing minutes like an NBA coach protecting their superstar. She's ensuring Clark stays fresh, effective, and ready to dominate when it matters most. This is the kind of coaching that builds championship teams.
Quarters and throughout 44 games. Like, we've got 4 more games than we had a year ago in the same time frame, right? No Olympic break. And so we've got to be able to get a rotation. And I think for me, that's one of the things I'm most excited about. 2 years in Connecticut, we couldn't find a rotation. Our starters had to play heavy minutes. And I think at times in fourth quarters or throughout the end of the season, you could tell that a little bit because our efficiency dipped. We've got a lot of great offensive weapons that we've got to put in positions to be successful. We've got to get better on the defensive end of the floor. And so now with the roster that we have, we got to challenge our coaching staff right now to find out what that is, because it's going to be different than I think what we had originally planned because of the personnel. So do I think we can be title contenders? Absolutely.
Fever fans, this isn't the Christy Sides era anymore. Remember those days? Caitlin Clark playing 40 minutes like she was starring in a one-woman Broadway show called Survive and Advance. The old strategy was basically, hey Caitlin, carry the offense, cover for the defense, and if you're lucky, we might set you a screen. But enter Coach Stephanie White, and suddenly, Clark has something revolutionary: help. White isn't running a hope and pray offense where Clark is running on fumes by July. Nope. She has a real system in place, one where the star player doesn't need an oxygen mask by halftime. This is coaching done right.
Those were really great bench depth signings. This is something that the Indiana Fever did not have last season. Caitlin Clark had to play 44 minutes a game. Aaliyah Boston had to play way too many minutes a game. Kelsey Mitchell had to play too many minutes a game. And I personally did see that, before the Olympic break, it started wearing on them. And I can only imagine what the bench depth is going to do for the team.
Think of it like Luka Doncic versus Steph Curry. Luka plays hero ball every night, and by the fourth quarter, he looks like he's carrying bricks in his shoes. Steph, he's got a system, teammates who know their roles, and enough energy to shimmy his way into the playoffs. That's the vision for Clark. And rival fans? Oh, they're big mad. 1 minute, it's Clark's overrated. She won't last in the WNBA now that the Fever are actually building a contender. Suddenly, it's Indiana is stacking the deck. Unfair. Let's be real, they're just salty because the Fever are making smart moves, while other teams treat the offseason like a clearance sale. Indiana isn't just hoping for success, they're building it. And when the wins start piling up, don't be surprised when the complaints get even louder.
The new Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White made a drastic exclamation this week, and we got to talk about it. She was doing an interview and she flat out said, "If you don't return your shopping cart, we don't want you. We don't want those kind of people on our team. We don't want those kind of people in our locker room. We don't want those people at all. Return your shopping cart."
Caitlin's about to go from, how is she still standing? To, how did she just drop 30 and still have energy to sign autographs for an hour? That's the Stephanie White effect. For the first time in a long time, Fever fans get to watch a team with a real plan. And to the haters, keep crying. Indiana isn't just building around Clark, they're setting her up to dominate. So when she's still cooking in the playoffs while your favorite team is already on vacation, just remember, you saw it coming. The Fever are playing chess, and the rest of the league better keep up.
By the way, Indiana's a small market. It ain't New York City, ain't LA, ain't Chicago. It's not the Skies, not the Liberties, not the Sparks. We're talking about the Indiana Fever, led by a girl that was playing at Iowa. It's producing the most watched WNBA games in over 2 decades.
Last season, Clark was out there hooping like a college student pulling a double shift. No breaks, no breathers. She was a one-woman band, trying to play the guitar, drums, and trumpet all at once. And somehow, she still dragged the Fever to the playoffs. But this year, she finally has reinforcements, and that's dangerous for the rest of the league. Any doubts about Stephanie White's coaching are disappearing faster than a bad TikTok trend. She's taken this team from survival mode to contender status, turning a microwave meal into a 5-star dinner. The offense flows, the ball movement is crisp, and the defense. Let's just say teams are realizing that playing Indiana isn't a casual jog anymore. It's a full-speed sprint against a cheetah. The Fever aren't just here to compete, they're here to win. Some think the Lynx and Liberty have too much firepower. But hey, People also thought Blockbuster was untouchable. Look how that turned out. This season, it's about to be a movie. Fever fans, get your popcorn ready. The takeover is happening. Here's the simple truth. The Fever are in much better hands. Stephanie White isn't just setting up Caitlin Clark for success. She's making the entire team better. And what's more dangerous than an elite Caitlin Clark? A well-rested elite Caitlin Clark. Opponents better be ready, because Indiana is coming, and they aren't here to play nice. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. More videos are on screen now.